Hello and welcome to This Week in Weed, where we discuss this week's topics in marijuana and marijuana-related news. I'm your host. My name is William Rodriguez.
And I'm Rose Sandoval.
So hey, Rose. It's our first show. A little nervous, aren't you?
Yeah.
I know I am. We both don't know what we're doing. We don't have any broadcast backgrounds or anything like that. But we figured this is a topic of discussion that isn't really being covered right now and needs to be talked about, especially with the climate that we're in, the legal climate that is.
Yeah, and there's just so much more positive aspects to it all that people really don't know, and it's something important to get out there.
Yeah, we figured there needs to be some kind of positive outlet for the positive side of marijuana and the consumption and the culture, because there is a lot of positivity to it, but unfortunately, it's usually the bad apples that stick out really the most, you know. So I remember speaking of which, earlier today you came in here and you were pretty worked up about something.
Yeah, with all the news and the media, it got me all worked up over this budget crisis, and I know a few people who are government workers, and then of course, family members who are on dependent of government funds. Financial aid is a big one, especially for me being a full-time student. So that had everybody up in arms about tax cuts.
Yeah, you walked in here and you're like, oh my God, you don't know. Everything's wrong. Everything's just, it's all fucked up. Like, what are you talking about? We're starting our first show. You're making me nervous.
Well, I didn't mean to make you nervous, but the media gets you all worked up,
Yeah,
all this and that about cutting things, and they're talking about women's rights and.
Well, what about the women's rights?
Well, they wanted to cut back money, and Democrats are saying Republicans are cutting back funds on Planned Parenthood, basically aiming at Planned Parenthood to cut funds.
I've used them numerous times, might I add. I'm not very proud of it, but I would be fucked otherwise.
Thank you. A male, it's not just women, but a big thing was, basically my output I was seeing from everything is it's more about the Republicans can't get abortion outlawed, so they're saying, well, we're in this tax deficit, so we want to cut out money that goes towards Planned Parenthood. And they think that the money that goes to Planned Parenthood is putting such a gap in our debt that they think the money needs to be cut from it.
Oh, we should probably maybe have more children and.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe not get tested for HIV and just start spreading that around. And
new policy: no condoms for no one.
Yeah, there you go.
No sex. I'm with it.
No HPV shots for
everyone,
our younger girls.
It's.
No breast exams.
I imagine that might actually cut some funding for those free condom programs they do at the testing centers too by the state.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and that's a big one too, because it's not just Planned Parenthood; it would be for the state. And basically, they're saying that federal money shouldn't be going towards abortions, and a lot of people are arguing that that's not what it's going for. It's going for the preventative health and preventative medicine, and in certain cases such as incest, rape, health issues, then of course it is put towards that. And like you said, if we should just have a bunch of kids, that's going to help our tax deficit, having all these unwanted babies everywhere.
Well, I don't want to get too deep into it.
Yeah.
It is a subject we're going to come back to, but first we're going to go into our first story. We have a certain structure we're trying to follow, and the first thing we like to start off with is some laws out there, because, man, when I first became a patient, I was assigned 24 plants, and then...
Really?
Yeah, well, I told the doctor that I wasn't really into smoking, and I really wasn't. I hadn't, before moving to Colorado, I really wasn't much of a heavy smoker. I would smoke on the weekends or whatever, and so I was worried about the impact on my lungs for being a consumer of this. I use it for pain management with my ankle. I had bad injuries from being in karate and different sports when I was younger, and it's the way that I've been able to manage the pain there. It doesn't really always make it go away, but it helps me to not really be bothered by it and still be able to be active and not have to worry about it. And so when the doctor told me that 24 plants is what I'd be allowed to grow if I was going to be my own caregiver, which I elected to be because I was growing, that was great, fantastic. I started growing, and, then all of a sudden the laws changed. HB 1284 came by, and it wasn't like I received a letter in the mail or anything like that about these changes. It was just like, well, if you heard about it, then you know, and if you didn't, then you don't, and well, don't be surprised if I'm come knocking on your door and things have changed. They have a discussion about it.
In which case you don't want to open your door.
Perhaps not. Perhaps it's better not to be home that day.
Yeah.
But in light of that, that's why in the show we're aiming to start off with law changes. In that spirit, it's where this story comes into play. What was it? HB 1250, another House bill.
Mm-hmm.
And well, basically what they said is that this was reported in all over the place, and I read it on ColoradoIndependent.com, and basically it was saying that the bill passed on from the committee stage. Was the House House Finance Committee? They passed it.
Mm-hmm.
It'd been sitting in there. First of all, this kind of had been looming for a minute and made everybody who had anything to do with edibles, dispensary owners included, a little nervous that a big part of the industry was going to get shut down, because the risk when the bill was first proposed was to ban edibles, medically infused, marijuana infused edibles from being sold in this state, and thankfully it was amended as you learned through the story, and essentially they basically conditioned it now in such a way that at this point, before it goes on to the House, it was reworded up a bit. Language was tightened up in such a way so that it was a little more structured.
And more understandable.
Yeah, and so now what the bill is proposing is that we don't get rid of edibles altogether, which thank goodness, because
Well, yeah, there'd be a lot of people out, because
well, I mean,
a lot of
anybody.
people feel the way you do. They don't necessarily want to smoke, but
Well, I've since changed my position on the topic, honestly, since staying here in the great state of Colorado, having access to so many people who are dealing with the same debilitating conditions I have. Yeah, I find myself socially smoking a bit more than I used to, but still, there are a number of people who, aren't in my condition with a family in the dispensary business and all that sort of thing. And smoking is still something that's very expensive, and edibles are a great way for them to basically get the medication that they need, the pain management, whatever have you, whatever you're needing the CBNs for to deal with your issues. You're able to get it in a manner that wasn't really bad for you. I mean, if you consume it, then you're not dealing with any of the lung-related issues that smoking causes.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional smoking, like with joint papers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
You've got vaporizers, which I don't really consider smoking because there's not supposed to be any smoke. That's the name, vapor. But the whole edible thing was a great way. It's a great way for people to get access to the meds without necessarily smoking a joint and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Which nothing wrong with smoking a joint, but a lot of people like that smell, like they've never done it before.
Yeah. Well, and it's also good if you have kids, because you necessarily don't want to be smoking with your kids in the house either.
Right, exactly. And so
having that kind of stuff, not that you would leave it laying around, but just some people are uncomfortable with having
everybody's got
papers
different situations.
Yeah,
and so getting rid of one aspect of abolishing of edibles altogether was a major risk to the industry,
mm-hmm.
because you're talking about a whole segment of people. Everybody's got different situations. Not everybody can smoke to manage the pain, and
mm-hmm.
because they can't find a private spot or whatever. And edibles really served as a great way to do that. So thankfully, the bill was reshaped in such a way that now they're just talking about having child-safe or tamper-proof containers that
mm-hmm.
children can't get into, and appropriate labeling to make it so that this way you can see the ingredients and know what's in there. Now, the one aspect of the bill that was also added to it was that they were going to change the how you can market the products.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So apparently, what was it? I think it was. The Cannabis Therapy Institute.
Yes.
They had this little section in the story where what did they say?
Oh, well, with the marketing scheme, during court, I guess it was, they brought up pictures of what was it, Captain Chronic.
Oh yeah.
For a label, and Captain Crunch, so Cap and Chronic, yes, that's what it was, Cap and Chronic. And then the other
Sounds
one,
tasty.
Yeah, really, right? Cap and Chronic.
What was the other one? It was.
And it was on the other link.
Oh, that was it. Okay, yeah. Where is it? Captain Chronic and something else that sounded pretty appealing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they were labels that appealed, I guess, basically to kids. So they're saying some of the labels on here were similar to what kids eat.
Pop tarts.
Tarts.
Pretty.
So clever name. It is kind of appealing to kids. So you definitely want to label them that.
You see, that's kind of like that's one part of understand where they're coming from, and it's better than getting rid of it altogether. Time, I'm always the opinion of least governed is the best governed.
That's true.
And so the moment they turn around and they say that, well, you have to shape your marketing in this way or that way, it was like to creep them over inch and they take a fucking foot.
That's
how they are.
true.
So
That's true.
it could be just be the beginning, and I really feel it's who was it it was a Democrat who was saying that she either
It is parents' responsibility as well. I mean, our kids know, okay, this bottle of children's stuff because it's harmful, even though it tastes. I mean, medicine tastes like grape.
Captain Crunch either, though.
No, but I mean, it does have. Sometimes it'll have like a picture of grapes.
Right.
And it's purple. So what does that say? Like grape juice?
Well,
I mean,
it lets you know. I mean, with this law, with the way that it's shaped in now, it's limiting the way in which you can market the product. That just limits on it. I mean, look, I understand that certain imagery will appeal to a younger demographic than others, but at the same time, isn't it the responsibility of parents to talk to their kids and let them know, because look, I was in high school not that long ago. It wasn't I got introduced to all kinds of things.
True.
Through your friend, you're not gonna ever stop that. People are always kids. That's since the beginning of the idea of high school, at least in this country. That's how everybody learns shit. You from your friends or whatever. That one dude had this. Come on, boy. And honestly, I didn't start smoking. My parents, they themselves, they consume. It wasn't a taboo for me. It wasn't a hidden subject. They didn't sit down and smoke J's with me. Not at all. My dad was like, "If I ever see you do this shit, I'll break your legs." that was how I grew up, and necessarily, but just because it wasn't such a taboo to me. It wasn't like such a forbidden pleasure. Like, ooh, I'll be smoking this.
No, I agree because I grew up in the same atmosphere. I mean.
Yeah, but you were smoking by like 14, weren't you?
I was the friend, but my parents were smokers. They smoked in front of me, and but they educated me as.
They just made you aware of the situation.
Yeah, they made me aware of what it was. That I had the choice, or encouraged me what it is. If you're gonna do it, it needs to be here. And a lot of parents do that with drinks at that age.
I hear about that all the time.
I mean, I used to go to parties. I went to high school. Parents will have tents set out, so they can crash out in these tents, know, and nobody.
Then there's nobody.
I was always very educated about that as well. Medicine, your kids need to know. Don't be getting into the medicine cabinet, and this is just another form of mom and dad's medicine.
Right.
And this is not okay to take, and I wouldn't say it can harm them because there's no proof.
Yeah, weed.
Yeah.
Tylenol, people are.
Hey, Tylenol and alcohol.
I think it's one of the preferred. Do it with Tylenol.
In a bottle. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great that they are making some adjustments as far as keeping it safe and safely labeled. I think that is a responsible thing to do.
I can get behind that as well, but like I said, the one thing I don't like about it is just the marketing limitations on it. Because they say today it's with the edibles, and then it's sort of
well, no, if they're gonna put a cap on marketing for this, then they should put a cap on marketing for clothes. I mean, that's a whole other subject, but with young girls nowadays, their clothes are getting a little more revealing. I hear this summer they're coming out with padded swimsuits for girls as young as 7 years old.
Do you mean padded swimsuits to make them have like bigger butts and bigger boobs and stuff like that?
So I mean, come on. If we're gonna put a cap on marketing for this, then we need to look at some other subjects as well for our child's safety and well-being. Because I'm sorry, but dressing sleazy at the age of 9 and 10, I don't think that's very safe for you. I think that's calling for some more teen pregnancies. But again, another subject.
But you see now, that's the thing. So like, a lot of mothers would look at this issue and say, "Oh, well, let's start fucking making designing you can or labels or anything like that you can do on t-shirts or clothing."
Exactly.
For marijuana.
Oh.
I'm just saying it's like a slippery slope. So you give them the ability to say you can define what you can market, how you can market edibles, how long before somebody gets a hair up their ass and says, hey, the same thing about the clothes. I don't like these T-shirts. Somebody comes up with Captain Chronic T-shirts or whatever.
And then what does that do for dispensaries marketing as well? Like, how are they going to be able to market?
Well,
as a whole.
Like I said.
Yeah, like you said, you give an inch, you'll take a foot.
Yeah. In your logo or anything.
Yeah, or people are going to come in here thinking it's something else.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I just think it's best left to children, and if you're gonna live in your house, it's your responsibility to keep track of your meds, make sure and understand if you're gonna have children in your house, perhaps it's a good idea to have a talk that from it, set the in secrecy. Things might happen. You can't be in control of everything, so it's your responsibility as an put measures. There's all kinds of different things that you like the marketing for cigarettes responsibility because
it is.
It'll be something else. We have to have more and more laws and stuff that are enforced and just create issues and limit creativity and limit speech. The people don't want to take the time to be responsible for what they should be responsible for.
Be responsible for, exactly.
So, anyway, and now in upcoming events, one of the things that started actually just this past March was the best meds contest. Basically, this is a patient-judged event whereby you pay $50 and you get like a pretty healthy eighth. Basically, it's 8 half-gram samples of buds. So 8 different strains, each a half gram a pop, and you pay $50 for it.
Which isn't bad.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the higher end of things as far as the price of an eighth goes. A lot of places these days are charging $35 or whatever, but along with the price of the meds that you're testing out, what you get, by the way, you get 8 individual scorecards. These are anonymously numbered cards that basically tell you have like a listing there of the smell, the aroma, the taste, all that kind of fun stuff, the effects, how long it lasted, and you have to do it for each one of the ones. The cards are supposed to be sent in no later than 4/20. Hello, that's when they're doing the judgment finally, and along with getting the meds, you get the right to enter into there's a Greenleaf Expo, one free entry to that. That's June 11th and 12th. And then there is there's the Best Med Awards, which you get an entry into, and that's the 11th and 12th in June. The Greenleaf Expo, their website doesn't say, but you'll have to check out bestmeds.com for more information about the event. Again, they have, along with that entry, you get the 11th and 12th for the Leaf thing, and you get $5 off on your official judge t-shirt, among other things. See their website for other details. What else is coming up, Rose?
Alrighty, so we got my favorite group here, Cannabis Therapy Institute, will be having their legal panel discussion.
Favorite group.
I shouldn't say favorite, but...
She won a pot bag from these guys. Alright, we went there and she cleaned up house on all her pot trivia stuff. I
can't help that I'm educated in the subject,
No, they're a great group actually, and it's kind of cool that they awarded you for knowledge in the subject.
Yeah, so it is really a great group. What they do, I think it's about once a month. They host a little discussion panel at Casselmans over on Walnut downtown. And their next legal panel discussion will be on Wednesday, April 13th at Casselmans. And it's open and free to the public. It'll start at 7 p.m. And it looks like they're going to be having some advocacy and education updates, some patient rights updates.
This is the typical kind of thing that they do over there. Right? They kind of hold this monthly event. It's always at Casselmans?
Yeah, it's always at Casselmans, and it's just to basically update you on the newest stuff that's going on, new bills that are approaching, what you can do to get involved with the group or other groups, and also attending, court discussions to give your opinion, as you were saying with the edible law,
things like that coming up, exactly. They discuss it all. They discuss all these things.
A lot of people came in and said what they felt and what they wanted and how it affected themselves as patients or family members who are patients. And, it's important for our
Well, it's important for us to
representatives
get
to
involved.
hear that. Yeah,
It's important for us to get involved.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot of the times, just because you have a red card doesn't mean you're always up on everything that's happening in medical marijuana.
Yeah.
And, like I said at the top of the show, it's an ever-changing legal climate that we're dealing with, and so it's hard to keep up with all this, and especially freaking. It's not like the state is doing anybody any favors by sending out updated rules for your area or your city.
Just like if your license gets suspended, they're like, hey, your license is suspended. No, not the same thing.
Not the same kind of thing. They don't say, certified mail thing that follows you if you move or any kind of deal like that. No.
Yeah, no, nothing.
What was it? First class mail they used for the tickets and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else they got coming up at the Cannabis Therapy Institute? Anything else?
Let's see. Let me take a look here. Well, the Casselmans gig on the 13th is going to be from 6:45 until 9 p.m.
And what was that again?
When was it?
Yeah, what day was that again?
April 13th. It's a Tuesday. It's actually next week already.
Short-term memory loss. It's a side effect of the
Wednesday. Wednesday, April 13th, 2011 at Casselman's Bar and Venue from 6:45 to 9 p.m. You could always just visit www.cannabistherapyinstitute.com for more information and also to get on their mailing list because they'll also email you every time they have events coming up. The other one that's coming up later on, which you can go to their website and register for, is on Tuesday, April 19th. They will be having a medical marijuana legal seminar, compliance with the new Department of Revenue rules. Okay. So this basically sounds like there's a bunch of new rules out, and this is just going to get you informed on all the new rules and get a seminar, and it looks like it'll be with attorney Rob Corey. So just
everybody's
go to
favorite. Well, anyways, check the thing out.
Check it out.
We'll be there actually.
Yes,
so
we will.
Come say hi. What do we got next? Next section of the of This Week in Weed is local news, and we just had the 2011 Medical Cannabis Cup hosted by HighTimes just this past weekend. I actually we didn't get a chance to attend ourselves, but a lot of people that we knew did get a chance to get out there, and like most other events, it came out really well. Everybody was pretty happy with the results there with regard to how the culture of the event, the atmosphere. It was all very positive and a very positive and light. It put marijuana in a very positive light. Excuse me. And a lot of the events that have been held out here in Denver have kind of followed that kind of suit.
Yes.
And so that's pretty good. It's good to hear whenever these big events get organized that they were successful in getting a good message out there and everybody had a good time. And in fact, it actually started talk that Colorado may be like, what did they say? The pinnacle place for medical marijuana. Like, this is where it's happening. Colorado's the state.
And that's awesome. I think, for people to be considering us, that kind of shows we are moving towards a good direction.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
For people to start coming out and saying, hey, I'm here to support it, whether I am a smoker or I just believe it should be decriminalized or I have family.
Well, that's usually the case, too. Usually when you go to these events, you run into a lot of people who are just like, it's just great to see this kind of stuff out there. And,
it's support.
Yeah, because it wasn't that long ago. I mean, we were getting weed from places that were dark, danky, and well, danky's not too bad, but dark and scary maybe. I'm from New York, and it's a little different for me.
Where were you going?
Post Avenue in Washington Heights.
Hey.
It's nothing the boys don't know about. Let me tell you, it's a little different over there.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. Yeah, one of the other stories was that, people were saying that at the 2011 cannabis event that just happened at HighTimes through, again, Colorado was just being highly proclaimed as, like, one of the best places to be a patient, and it's where things are happening. There's a lot of positive progression and growth in the industry here. It's a lot of it is starting here, so that's really pretty cool to see that happen.
One of the representatives also say, based on studies, as far as Colorado goes, it is a booming industry and can turn into a 1.7 million or billion? Don't quote me on that billion industry for Colorado. The jobs, the opportunities.
Wait, they're saying it could turn into 1 point what? It's
got
to be higher than that.
Million.
I should hope it's higher than that. I think
Well,
a few people
I'll
are
look
making
it up,
those
see if I can
millions.
find it, and we'll talk about that.
All right. Let's see here. What else we got local news? Oh, well, speaking of the positive atmosphere out here in Colorado, Glenwood okayed the zoning for medical marijuana operations finally. So I guess their moratorium is coming up.
That's great.
Yeah, so I was over in Glenwood Springs not that long ago, actually, and right across the street from one of my favorite places to stay at, the was it Denver Hot Springs Hotel. There's lo and behold, across the street from KFC.
There's a dispensary. That was pretty awesome. I
Perks.
wasn't expecting to see anything out there. I mean, I really wasn't.
Yeah, I was surprised. I had been going there for years, and like that place used to be a gas station, and now it's a dispensary.
No, it's
I'm like,
a dispensary.
that's what's up.
Little town, little dispensary.
Fuck regular lemon and give me some fucking super lemon skunk. Anyway, that's what I want after I get out the hot springs tub, or before I go in. Anyhow, but all's not well in the land. Actually, there is some bad news. Both Grand Junction and Castle Rock voters recently voted to continue to block medical marijuana institutions.
Too bad.
Yeah, so there'll be no dispensaries in those areas, and unfortunately, patients are going to have to drive and travel to Denver or to whatever's closest to them.
The closest.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I mean, whenever cities choose to ban dispensaries in their area, it's always the patients that end up losing out on it. And unfortunately, the patients who need it most, people who are debilitated, disabled, have to depend on public transportation and what have you. I mean, the elderly, I would say probably roughly half the medical community is this is the kind of thing that really hurts them. Whenever you restrict the access to meds, you reduce competition, higher pricing. And it's just not fair for people,
It's not.
Especially people that are using this, using medical marijuana to manage their pain and help them to be closer with their families and still engage in a meaningful life,
Exactly.
So it's really kind of rough to hear that, and hopefully they'll change their minds as we move forward in time. Hopefully someday that not only will it be legalized for medical use, but hopefully weed in general will just become decriminalized in this state. That would be the best thing.
I mean, yeah, because it's just tax dollars and everything else going on with that. It's just
if they legalize it, everybody always yells, legalize it, and a friend of mine, he put me onto this idea of decriminalizing it instead, because if they legalized it, well then, like in New York, where I'm from, example, a pack of cigarettes basically is like $3. It's the basic price.
Tax it.
Yeah, but you pay $10 in New York, close to it's like $7 tax in New York, because Giuliani, or not Giuliani, is it Giuliani? Bloomberg, excuse me. Bloomberg, he put this law through advocating this is the end of using tobacco, or trying to get rid of people smoking cigarettes or whatever, reducing it. And the net effect is that, basically just gave them the ability to tax the hell out of it. I don't know that so many people are fucking quitting smoking. They're just driving into Jersey and the tax dollars are going over there to get a cheap pack of cigarettes. But whatever.
No.
Anyway, he knows more about business than I do. I'll leave it up to him. Anyhow, medical pot doctor Paul Bregman has his license given back to him. It was suspended a while ago, which is interesting because he's on the board of the center, the board of directors for doctors or medicine in the state.
Yes,
I forget.
Yeah.
It's some kind of board. The story was actually listed with FREEP.com. You can check them out. It was push to fix hazy pot laws. They'll have the details in there. But basically, what happened was this guy he's on a couple committees that actually shape marijuana laws, and his license was suspended. He wasn't able to practice medicine for I think almost several months, and they've given him his license back, allowed him to continue to practice under certain stipulations. What those stipulations were, they haven't been made public. His lawyer wasn't available for comment, and the story didn't mention actually questioning the committee that made the agreement with him. But either way, he's practicing, which is great, again, because he is an advocate for medical marijuana. So it's another medical marijuana friendly doctor that's back out there helping people.
We need more doctors like that out there. It's just a shame that the medical field, is making it hard on these doctors and doing things like this, because in reality,
well, it's not the medical field really, it's the pressure from the feds,
the boards, but I mean, doctors take an oath, to help people, and for the government to be standing in the way of a doctor helping somebody is really ridiculous, and it makes you really wonder.
Well, here's the thing, according to the story, his license was pulled not for anything pertaining necessarily to medical marijuana. It was suspended because he had some kind of illness or something like that may have affected his work. So when I first read this, it wasn't actually till late in the story that they mentioned that part.
Oh,
for
the
most part,
there you go. The media wants to
they
give an
control a little jolt
there you go.
to control how you're thinking about things.
Yeah.
But anyway, in national news, New Jersey medical marijuana pot starters have been accused of being a little tied in. I mean, out in that state, they New Jersey when they allowed for medical marijuana, they basically gave out 10 spots. Only 10 entities could be involved in medical marijuana. They were bidded out, and the highest bidders won the 10 spots, which sounds like it creates a lot of room for corruption, in my opinion. And yeah, they're finally starting to report on it. Let's see, who was it? Where are we here? Junction. Here it is. Sorry, folks. Bloomberg Business Week is actually reporting that story. You should check it out at businessweek.com for details on that story. In related news, Connecticut Reeferendum, that's coming to an end over there. What's the story on in Connecticut?
Let's take a look here. So with Connecticut, and this comes from ConnecticutMag.com. Let's take a look here. So what has happened is the legislature has passed a bill to legalize the medical use of marijuana in the state. Let me take a look here.
What's the per total on?
No. Sorry about that. Hold on. You might have to cut here. Okay, sorry. In 2007, they did pass a bill to legalize medical marijuana, but Governor Jody Rao vetoed it in 2009 and 2010. So
there's been some flip-flopping.
There has been some flip-flopping, and now we have Governor Daniel Malloy.
George Bush. He introduced that term. Flip-flopper. What did he say that every? I forget. I think he was talking about, that was when he was going against Kerry.
Oh.
He's a flip-flopper.
He's a flip-flopper.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a flip-flopper. Flip-flops.
We don't flip-flop on weed, however. It's good.
So now
when used as directed.
now that we're here in I wanted to say 011, but in 11.
In old yells. Sounds like old English. Ye old D11. 011. I can't even say it. It doesn't even work. No. There is no post-millennium terminology in old English, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so now we have Daniel Malloy standing up for the legalization of medical marijuana as well as decriminalization. And I like that because what he is proposing here, so this is a referendum, but what he is proposing is that instead of being charged with a felony offense for being caught with marijuana, anything less than an ounce would actually be a misdemeanor. And instead of sending people to court and having to deal with the public attorney, or public defender rather, which takes up government funds or state funds, and then of course the time for them to be at court and all of that litigation process, is just issuing out a ticket. And charging a fine and saying, here, you have a misdemeanor, pay this ticket. And I'm assuming, it doesn't go too much into detail, but I'm assuming if you don't show up for court, then they go ahead through the legal process of that.
Well, that's fine. So, I mean, you shouldn't be getting arrested over some couple of buds,
Yeah, so this is, in January, he introduced this bill, which was number 163. So that's kind of what they're dealing with right now, is getting that proposed and getting it out there, and to have voters
Well, it sounds like they still got a lot of work to do. In
They
this state.
do, and they do say that polls show that 58% of Connecticut citizens were in favor of the decriminalization.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like they are going through, the process and getting there.
Right.
And recently, marijuana was decriminalized in Massachusetts, which was actually the first state in 1911 to legalize marijuana before it was federally illegal. These guys went ahead and illegalized it, and 100 years later, now it's decriminalized.
Really?
So yeah, it has
across
been,
the board.
In Massachusetts. Well, let me see. Then that's the thing with this article too. Didn't go too much into detail, but it was decriminalized, and
Well, that's saying a lot because that's saying more than just legalized for medical use. It's decriminalized means it's all good.
Yeah, and Representative Looney says, I certainly believe it's worth pursuing again this year as far as, coming through with more decriminalization.
And this is Massachusetts now?
Let's take a look here. Sorry, I'm like a little all over tonight. Let's see, he is he's Senator Martin Looney, Democrat of New Haven. New Haven.
Is that Massachusetts? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay.
Right,
So there you go. Hey, maybe Denver's not in the lead.
yeah.
Sounds like
these days-
Massachusetts is on it. They kind of flip-flop the other way in a positive direction, I'll say.
Yeah.
All right, so Rose, what's happening in Arizona?
Alrighty, so in Arizona last year, November, they went ahead and passed for the use of medical marijuana. However, they had to go over the rules and regulations and how medicine was going to be dispersed and where dispensaries can open up. And
Yeah, we had that here for a while too. That's where the moratorium came into effect.
Yeah.
In most places.
So what has happened is the rules have been gone through, everything's been read through with the Department of Health. And so now the rules will go into effect on April 14th, and dispensaries will be able to start applying for their licenses in May. And I'm assuming...
Why the wait?
I have no idea. It's like, why not just jump on it and start letting people go
Why?
gung-ho?
Why would the rule take effect and then wait a whole 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever
Yeah,
it is
to start letting people apply and go through that process because, you have some knowledge in that field. The application process is lengthy
it's timely,
and it's
time-consuming.
costly and it's a major investment, definitely, and for the time and that it takes for anybody who wants to open a dispensary and to wait for the hoo-ha, I guess you could say.
Well, it took Colorado a real long time to define the structure because it was legalized in this state medicinally. I believe it was 2001 originally is when Amendment 20 was put into play. And it wasn't until just last year, in 2010, when rules and regulations were put into place for a lot of the cities. And many cities still don't have rules set up. They're on moratorium until I think it's June or July. And so, to see Arizona take steps like that statewide, it's pretty good.
And it's really good too because Arizona is really tough on their possession laws, and to have any amount of marijuana is a felony. And
It's also illegal to be brown there too, I guess.
over here. So, this is a major step, but this
Not funny,
article,
actually.
which was actually taken, I want to say, this is funny. You're going to love the name of this place where I got this article. So this is from Phoenix Criminal Law News.
Oh, yeah. Well, weed's a criminal.
Yeah.
Hand in hand.
Everybody, yeah. It's all
Yeah.
But, so this came from the PhoenixCriminalLawNews.com, and it mentions at the end here for anybody who wants to acquire a license or be a patient, dispensary, whatever involvement, to definitely know your laws and your rights and make sure you have your ducks in a row because Arizona's still gonna be very tough.
Busting that ass when they can, right?
Don't be
looking for the opportunities.
Yeah. So be aware and always knowledge is power.
Well,
in anything.
That's very true, and especially any dispensary, anywhere, any state in this country, you got to be up on the laws. A lot of places have people on retainer. Let me tell you.
Yes.
But in that spirit, Michigan's going through the same kind of thing. They're pushing now for laws there because they've had it legalized for a minute without having the structure in place, similar to the way Colorado started off. And so finally they're starting to formalize, or business owners there are starting to get together and form a voice and make actions towards getting things formalized over there. So we're starting to see some traction in that area as well. So that's another positive step forward. Switching segments now, we're switching over to our discussion stories here. Regarding bringing it back to Colorado now. Colorado's actually starting to consider enforcing DUI laws for marijuana actually for the first time.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, and so it's got people pretty up in arms right now. Well, because as you know, a urine test will show you. You'll come up positive on a urine test for up to 30 days.
Oh yeah, and a hair sample or swab.
That's the cheek samples and all that stuff. That stuff takes 6 months, I think, is what it is. 6 to 9 months. I'm not really sure. I haven't had to grill through one of those, but I know it's a real long time. Yeah, and so they're actually talking about doing this for while you're driving if you get pulled over. And what people are worried about right now is that it stays in your system for a long time. So what exactly are they testing for? Is it in your how much is in your system? Was it recently in your system? What are these tests gonna test for exactly? And so there's not really any existing test to really say like, oh well, you had this much this long ago and you're under the influence now. It usually just come up positive or negative for the most part. And so this is really real hot topic of discussion. Obviously, something has to be done. You don't want people driving out there necessarily while they're smoking or under the influence necessarily, which is, honestly, I feel kind of debatable to a certain extent. I feel like, first-time smokers and early smokers, people who haven't smoked for a long time, or consumed, rather, I think that's really dangerous.
Well, the same goes for alcohol. With alcohol, based on your weight, how much you've eaten, how often you drink, that changes a lot of factors up for how you're affected. Yes, you could blow positive by drinking one beer, but at the same time, somebody of like your stature, one beer, well, except for you're allergic, but other than that factor, so, a man of your height and weight, one beer isn't really going to affect you, but you're still going to blow positive. And the same goes for this, like you said, based on if you're an early on smoker or somebody who's smoked. But if you're already in your 60s and you've been smoking since you were 30, 30 years you've been smoking, I don't think, a couple hits is going to affect your driving.
Right, exactly.
And who's ever really been able to prove anything from it?
Well, that's the thing.
How many tickets have been, driving while impaired tickets were related to marijuana? Do they ever put that out there? You never hear about that. They don't have stops. They don't have stops. I never caught one myself. Well, this is interesting. Okay, here's a good point. For prom, the state patrol and local, police forces are going to be having random checkpoints during prom to be pulling, making sure kids aren't drinking and driving during prom.
Oh, so these are DUI kind of situation.
DUI kind of situation where they're going to have checkpoints during prom, the weekends of prom at random points. They will not announce where, to make sure that kids are being safe and not drinking and driving, right?
Well, that's a good idea. That kind of puts out there that, you shouldn't be fucking around tonight.
You shouldn't. You should be home by 12.
If we're going to drink, let's do it over at the school or whatever. Well, actually, no, there's no drinking at the school. Oh, okay.
That'll get you revoked from graduating.
Listen, guys, just get back to the house as soon as you can, all right? Whatever you got to do.
But, yeah, so you don't see anybody putting up checkpoints for smoking.
That would suck.
Yeah, so, in reality, it seems kind of ridiculous. Seems like another scheme just to ticket people and get more money.
Well, weren't you talking about the other day that there was some kind of count in for the state on how many blood tests?
I think it was, backed up by 1,000 blood tests because of what the police have to do if they suspect you of being impaired, I guess you can say. They can give you a blood test. Or, well, it says that they can test you, which I'm assuming...
Does this happen, like, on the
Well, see, that's what I'm saying.
While I'm on the floor, like,
they have to
roll up your sleeve!
While you're handcuffed?
Yeah, how does that... But your arm is on my elbow.
No, that's funny because it didn't go into detail about that, but it did. I'm assuming they have to take you in somewhere, either the hospital, which is a bill.
I should hope so, man. I don't trust the guy with the gun, with the needle at the same time.
Or going into the police station.
You gotta be, like, trained and certified to take blood, don't you?
Yeah, you do. So, I mean, I'm assuming they have to take you to the hospital, then they have to run a lab test, which is all money, which they're going to make you pay out.
This sounds like a very expensive proposition.
And, yeah, this article said it was about 5 nanograms. Yes, 5 nanograms.
Nino or nano?
Or nano? I'm thinking Nemo.
I think Nemograms. How many bluefish would that be? Oh, he's a yellowfish, isn't he? The girl
He's
is
orange, yeah.
Oh, he's orange.
So, so it's about, don't quote me on this, please, because I don't have the info up right now, but yes, it was around 5 nanograms. And
whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means, but basically anybody could test for that because of,
5 nanograms don't sound like very much to me.
No, it doesn't.
The last time I bought weed, I bought an eighth. Eighth of an ounce. It wasn't no nanograms.
Yes.
I don't think I could buy
it's
nanograms
a little
worth.
sketchy, but the state's already backed up by 1,000 lab tests right now that haven't come back because they just haven't gotten to them, and that's just more state funding, more state money, more money.
A backlog situation that probably doesn't get handled
and
very
it's
well. It costs a lot of money.
Backlog, and it costs a lot of money. And what's sad is the money that's going to go towards this stuff is the taxes it get from the dispensaries, which is crazy because our education system is being, it's plummeting, the funding. Day by day, the schools announcing, I'm not kidding, the schools are announcing more budget cuts, and that tax money can be going towards our schools to help our kids out.
Well, we don't want the slaves getting good education, so that's a topic for another show.
Yes.
In the morning to you, by the way, I forgot to tell you that.
Oh, yes, in the morning, thank you.
Even though it's 12:35.
Hey.
Well, it is
It's the morning somewhere.
It's the morning here, in fact.
Yes, you can tell we're busy during the day.
Anyway, what's the next story here? Colorado businesses urged to set firm drug policies. Yeah, that's another hot button topic. Basically, businesses have been kind of wrangling with the medical marijuana situation. I mean, well, on the one hand, as a patient, you get legalized to use it as a medicine, but at the same time, when you go ahead and decide to do that, you at the same time decide that you're going to disqualify yourself from roughly half the jobs out there.
Yeah.
Maybe more, depending on what sector you're trying to go into, what you specialize in.
Definitely.
It's for someone who's got a resume that comes from a white collar background. I mean, the choice to become a medical marijuana patient is nothing to you don't weigh that easily.
Yeah, if you already have some stuff weighing against you.
Well, no, not that you have anything against you, but that if you come from an environment, if you come from the kind of work background whereby you've always worked in an office environment, those are the kind of jobs that are typically kind of drug testing you. So, when you decide to become a medical marijuana patient, you have to sort of limit your employment opportunities in what sectors and what kind of jobs you can work in. What jobs don't test for medical marijuana? It's you can't be a lawyer and be a medical marijuana patient. I mean, all these things kind of conflict. And so businesses have kind of fallen under the heat of this recently. There's been a number of lawsuits for discrimination and employment. And everybody claims to be equal opportunity employers and everything.
Yeah,
but at the same time...
operating legally.
Well, that's the thing. And so, what they're trying to figure out is... what's at issue, actually, is that local businesses that exist only within Colorado, within the state, because obviously a business that exists that is situated their main headquarters is in another state, like maybe a McDonald's or whatever. I can understand maybe how they'll still have a drug enforcement because they their rules come from a state that's not really, that may not be a legalized state, you know.
Mhm.
Whereas companies that are Colorado owned and operated, if you will, these companies, well, they're going to have to deal with the law that was actually put out recently to protect tobacco smokers, cigarette smokers, really, tobacco smokers, cigarette smokers, those
Tobacco.
bastards.
Oh, don't get me started on that subject.
Hey, a lot of our viewers will probably smoke cigarettes. I understand, you bastards.
Hey, it's your prerogative.
Anyway,
I'm not the government. I don't tell people what to do.
least governed is best governed. Anyway, a law was put together not too long ago to protect those guys, and basically what it said was that in Colorado, employers cannot fire people for doing anything that they do outside of work hours that's legal.
Ah.
And so, well, smoking's legal, and what was happening is that there was a lot of pressure from the insurance companies on the employers to not hire people that are smokers, because they're at a higher risk to have health risks and all that sort of thing. They consider it sort of like a pre-existing condition, if you will. It's just more discrimination, freaking evil insurance companies.
It's funny that you say that with the jobs too, because I've heard of people who work in, or who have had workplaces tell them once licensing was coming out that if they were to get their license, they would lose their job, and I really don't understand how that's legal.
Right, it's like discrimination.
I mean, so are you saying because I have to take some morphine at night for a pinched nerve that you're going to fire me? Because, I mean, morphine essentially has some of the same effects, and it serves the same.
When you're home. Whatever you do when you're home, it's supposed to be your prerogative, right?
You know?
I mean, what is the employer's business? As long as you're not under the influence when you're at the job. Right?
Yeah, because that's a whole, of course, that's not
That's another thing. That's another thing altogether, you know.
But yes, legally, at home, privacy, you're a patient.
Right, exactly. It's supposed to be your legal right or whatever. It's very contradictory.
Your comfort.
It's messed up, is what the hell
it is.
It's just not right. I mean, you're basically telling somebody who's dealing with cancer and has a job that, as it is, it's tough enough to freaking fight through cancer, and you know what I'm saying. You got to deal with the stress of, well, I could lose my job now if I have to take a test, and maybe knowing that you have a cancer condition, maybe your employer does know that you have a cancer condition. Maybe they decide to just throw a drug test your way. Hey, you're randomly selected. You're cancer having bastard. I mean, it's messed up. And it's just another way to discriminate, and so.
It is.
It's really got to be something where we get legislation in place to protect medical marijuana patients from this, because it's gotten to a point where it's gotten very tough, and the options have become very limited for people. And in this economic climate being what it is, unemployment being as high as it is, we need people to be back in jobs.
We do.
We don't need people to be discriminated.
And we need jobs, and this is an industry.
Yeah, exactly. This
It's
industry.
a big industry. I mean.
Well, I don't think people are testing people. I don't think people in this industry are testing people against marijuana. So we're probably clear as far as that goes.
I'm just saying
we need
in
the rest of
run,
the rest of the guys to get on board as well.
In the long run, the marijuana industry itself can help.
Oh yeah, can help with that.
What
exactly.
we're going through right now.
Exactly. The least discrimination that we face in the industry, the more we can proliferate. I always have a hard time with that one. And the better it is for everyone, because there's more tax dollars to be earned, Anyway, next story. Where are we at here? Colorado businesses use the drug policy. State budget struck at last. Yeah, so apparently, Colorado was having a major budget deficit, and it was just announced. And where do we see this? This was we got this from the Durango Herald. They were basically saying that the Republicans and the GOP, the Democrats and the GOP got together and made a number of compromises with each other and figured out a way to get the budget in place. What was interesting, however, about it was that there were some concessions that really kind of caught my eye. The one being the reason why we're going to talk about it in this show is that they took the $8.2 million that were earned off of licensing for medical marijuana. that was originally slated to be used, or not originally, but recently it was slated, or not, the last time before anything had changed, which was yesterday, before it had changed, it was supposed to be used to balance the deficit, right? Balance the budget.
And how much money was this again?
I believe it was $8.2 million. It's quite
I believe it.
a chunk of change. Just off licensing fees.
Oh, I believe it. Because what was...
It's growing.
What is the licensing fee?
Well, you've got $90 state application fee for patients. You've got your application fees that the dispensaries pay, and that's a scale actually. That comes in 3 different flavors depending upon how big your dispensary is.
Oh, so there's a small, medium, and large.
So you can pay anywhere from, I think it starts at around, I want to say like $1,000, something for the smallest operation. Like if you were just a caregiver, which you really can't be these days thanks to fucking 1284. But it goes on from like $6,500 for a middle-sized place to like $13,500 for a larger place. So yeah, it really does crank up I can see how it can get to $8.2 million pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And it's still going. I mean, new dispensaries are opening up all the time, and so I don't know what they've decided to do with that money. Like I said, it was supposed to balance the budget. It sounds great to me. I mean, hell,
yeah,
we want to help chip in. You know, as an
mm-hmm.
industry, this industry is not afraid to chip in and help the state or the country for that matter. Mm-hmm. You know, if given the chance, I would imagine.
I mean, this is what our state, this is what the United States essentially was built on.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to
Washington's days, it was illegal in the 1700. What was it, 1767? It was illegal not to be growing hemp.
Yeah, so you know, you gotta ask yourself, what would Washington do? You know?
Yeah, right.
He'd say, "Fine your ass. You're not growing hemp. What is this atrocity?" I imagine he had a British accent because I think he came from there to a certain extent. Or no, he was born in Virginia. Excuse me.
No, he wasn't.
Wasn't he? He was born in Virginia.
No, he lived in Virginia. He came from Europe, silly.
Right? He was one of the colonists, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, history. Anyways.
Forgetting my history already. Anyhow.
So.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic how at one point this country was like founded embracing hemp, embracing weed, and
using it to pay taxes. Actually, using it to pay taxes as well.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, to pay taxes. I mean, to put sails on boats, to put uniforms on guys' backs, to put. I mean, the Declaration of Independence was written on it. Our Constitution was originally written on hemp paper. So hemp's been a part of this country for a long time, and it's unfortunate that there's been a lot of propaganda that has been put out there over the years, recent years. What was it?
Yeah.
1930 when it was legalized. Was it federally at a federal level? Mm-hmm. So it's only within the latest century of the turn of the century, well, the second century of this country was existed, that it's been a problem, and largely due to propaganda that was put out there from a few industries that were at risk. I mean, the paper industry, who else?
Pharmaceutical.
Rope.
DEA.
The rope industry.
No, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics was created. That's how it was created. But, I mean, it's just, it's awful how much money is just sitting there on the side, waiting to be picked up. Why do they make it so hard to give the government money? Like, they say they need money and they want your money, but then they make it hard to get.
Well, let's face it, the war on drugs isn't exactly working out against drugs, I'd say. Plenty of people are still able to get plenty of drugs. It's getting in there somewhere. I wonder how. Gee. Poppy fields in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Next subject.
Next story. NCI recognizes
this is a big one.
Cancer-killing properties in weed.
Yes.
Who's NCI?
NCI is the National Cancer Institute. And they, on their website, official. This is actually coming from 420 Magazine, online. Of course, paper saving there.
Was it 420magazine.com?
Yes, 420magazine.com. And they produced this article, but yes, the NCI has recognized that cannabis and THC basically carries, and I want to use the correct term here. In fact, I'd rather just read off the quote real quick here. No, because this is really, really good. So if you just go to the NCI's website, you'll be able to find the information as well.
But yeah, word for word, what did they say? Because I love to hear official stance on this thing.
Yes, okay.
It's good to hear this, because considering how much freaking propaganda has been out there about how, weed is supposed to, what do they say, kill brain cells, it's supposed to cause you to do all kinds of erratic things, it's supposed to make you stuck to the couch.
It makes you schizophrenic. It causes a man to kill his brother, and that's why it was illegal.
It's funny, the propaganda.
Crazy rumors. I'm like, meth makes you do that, yes, but not marijuana.
I tell you, nothing makes me get excited like smoking a J. I want to get out and get
rowdy. It's a long day of work. I mean, come on, you've been working all day. It's like 9 o'clock.
Smoking
You're just trying to crash and relax.
But that's the other thing, though. The propaganda is kind of flip flopped on what they're kind of saying the detriments are. I mean, originally they're saying it's like psychotic behavior or whatever. Mm-hmm. And one of the latest commercials, I don't watch too much TV, but the last thing I remember were like these commercials where these kids were like they turned into pancakes on the couch or whatever. Ever since Jody started smoking bud, she doesn't really do too much of anything.
Her homework anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't do too much of anything.
I crashed.
And it's real funny because I was watching the last HighTimes magazine podcast, and it was like this whole Hollywood thing, and the release of some movie came out, and it was all these dudes, directors, actors, people from all different walks of life. Really, people are very successful in life, all smoking weed.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I love this show called Parenthood. Sorry, Parenthood. It's on Channel 9, and I just absolutely love this show because it is a good family show. It deals with real family issues. But they've thrown marijuana out there a couple of times, and one was like in the funny stoner way, but it's like the executive of the company has edibles, and
not so subtle hints.
Yeah, he gives the dude edibles, and he comes home after eating this crazy sucker, not even knowing it's an edible. But everybody thinks it's pretty funny that he got high because you kind of get the hint that they're
giving out promotions left and right.
It's not too bad of a thing here, but the NCI found that quote here. So in their section entitled Cannabis and Cannabinoids provides an overview of the use of cannabis and its components as a treatment for people with cancer-related symptoms caused by the disease itself or its treatment. And as anybody who's been around somebody who's had cancer or suffered from it knows,
it's an ugly situation.
The medicine, it's no better than...
The medicine tears you up as much as the disease does.
Yeah, and they also put on here that preclinical trials have shown, let's see. Okay, so they're quoting on their website that cannabinoids may cause anti-tumor effects by various mechanisms, including...
Wait. For the less informed, cannabinoids, what are they again?
Cannabinoids? CBNs?
CBNs.
CBNs.
Yeah, and all that good stuff. Basically,
actually,
chemical
cannabinoids are chemical compounds in the marijuana that actually have medicinal properties that can help actually with MS or any type of pain. It really can help basically for pain management.
We've got a great chart, by the way, that we're going to be posting up on the site soon that will kind of break down what to look for in weed, because a lot of dispensaries nowadays are actually getting tests on their products, and so they'll give you a chemical analysis of whatever strain you're purchasing.
Yeah.
And based on that chemical analysis, you can figure out which strain is best to treat which disease you may have, or which debilitating condition or issue, whatever it is you got your medical marijuana card for. You can figure out which strains are best to suit your needs.
Just like medication.
Exactly. Imagine that.
And like C99, the plant C99, our favorite. Actually, she is a great treatment for MS.
Oh, multiple sclerosis. Really?
Yes.
Well,
because it has a higher cannabinoid count. Mm-hmm. So the higher cannabinoid count helps the medicinal, but yet it has a lower THC, so it's not so much of a psychoactive. Yes.
I see.
So see, there's a lot
Less
to
of a
it,
trippy,
but
more of a medicinal agent.
Yeah. So yes, they say cannabinoids may cause anti-tumor effects by various mechanisms, including induction of cell growth, inhibition of cell growth, and inhibition of tumor angiogenesis and metastasis.
Boy, that sounds like a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
All the great terms there for you.
So basically,
I would check out the site.
Yes, check out the site. But basically, yes, they have found that it's helping out with cancer, helping with things like nausea. It's going to help increase your appetite. It's going to help take some pain away. I know edibles is a great treatment for cancer patients who are having trouble sleeping.
Oh, it's great for anybody who's having trouble sleeping. People who are dealing with anxiety issues, depression, any kind of, anybody who's dealing with any issues falling asleep, man, you eat an edible and you'll have the nice deep sleep, dreamless deep sleep.
Yes.
And, if you dose them right, you wake up feeling pretty refreshed because you just, you get a nice solid amount of sleep in.
It's like taking a sleeping pill without all the chemicals.
And, all the side effects and addiction issues and all that kind of stuff.
The health issues that come later on in life. I mean.
Well, speaking of these benefits, who else is starting to recognize them is the DEA.
Yes.
You came across the story. Where was it from again?
That was actually from 420 magazine as well.
Oh, these guys are on top of it.
They are. So check them out. Preferably online. Save some national forest here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting these on the .com. But it's interesting to hear this kind of admission from the DEA because historically, as a federal agency, they're strong proponents against the legalization effort.
Yeah, I mean,
that's their job. These guys would totally be out of work.
This is their paycheck.
Yeah, this is how they feed their kids or whatever. I suppose keeping weed illegal. So it's interesting to hear them kind of. What did they say exactly?
Basically, they are giving pharmaceutical companies permission to use plant-derived THC and put it in pill form.
Wow, that sounds like an admission of the effects of
Marinol. There we go. Marinol has done that already.
So wait, are they saying that they're going to allow Marinol to be widely distributed across the country, or
that hasn't been mentioned?
But you're gonna stop short of that.
Yeah, but they do still say that it has no scientific value. So they're still sticking to their guns, but they're giving permission to pharmaceutical companies to start creating the pills with plant-derived THC.
I see.
Yes.
That's pretty interesting. It sounds like on the one hand we're like, well, we don't really believe in this, but we're going to start giving people, pharmaceutical companies, the ability to start pushing smoke and mirrors out there.
Yeah, and
if they don't believe in it, then why would they give them the ability to put it out there as a product for you to use in a medicinal manner? If they don't believe it to work, why are they going to allow it to happen then?
Yeah, I mean. It's really interesting. I'm really interested to see where they're going because, the pharmaceutical company is now involved in this.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You get the good old boys involved there.
Having to get... I mean, that's essentially who put the marijuana business out of business.
Right, and so they're linking up with them and they're saying it's
and that's who linked up originally as well, was the pharmaceutical company, the
DEA. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Drug enforcement was in place by Aslinger, Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He needed a bigger, he wanted his own department. And he got it.
He certainly did.
Yes.
Motherfucker. Well.
So, yeah, I mean.
It's an interesting admission from their behalf nonetheless.
Marinol, and it's made with the synthetic THC. And that has been FDA approved and also...
Which means nothing.
Yeah. It has basically been approved by the DEA to be legally distributed by your doctor. However, they're still taking their same standpoint as far as growing medical marijuana on your own, that they're still looking at that as illegal.
Shouldn't do that, huh?
No. So it's okay for a pharmaceutical company to grow plants or use, well, they're saying basically it's okay because it's synthetic, but essentially it came from a natural plant anyways. So
they're just extracting solely the THC from the plants.
Yes.
Because the thing is that, these guys are what they're saying they're going to get behind the production of THC by pharmaceutical companies.
By pharmaceutical companies.
Right,
yes,
which is taking THC out of, like some people say, the dealer's hands and putting it into Big Pharma's hands.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, for medicinal use, THC is not actually the most active ingredient as far as pain management goes and fighting cancer cells. A lot of that's actually found in the other cannabinoids like CBN and CNB or whatever the hell they are. There's like 6 other ones at least.
Yes. The THC gives more of the, like you said,
the psychoactive effect, right?
Yes. And
so
that's
it's strange
really...
that they're giving it to these guys, Big Pharma.
Well, and they say because also it helps with nausea and...
there's beneficial effects of it, but the thing is that it's not the most medicinal side of it.
No, it's not, because all it's doing is pairing up with the medication, like say morphine, for example. I can't take morphine. I can't take even Tylenol with codeine. That makes me nauseous. I mean, any kind of pain medication.
Can give you that stuff.
They'll give me the morphine and then give me that to counteract it. Yes, so it's just another drug. And who's to say what else they're putting in there? I mean... Just
another way for Big Pharma to be able to make more money.
More money.
And give more tax dollars.
And then, give
more
back
under
more
the
to
table
the
money.
DEA. And this was actually taken off of naturalnews.com. And so you can check
those guys out then.
Yeah, they have a lot of interesting stuff on the site.
Well, that's it for the news for today. On to the fun part of the show.
Woohoo!
So, this is the part of the show where we actually do reviews. Actually, I covered this part already. I'm going to pull it from another part.
Okay.
Today I'm going to be reviewing the incredible smoking apparatus. Let's go ahead and smile there. I'm going to put a cling in your smile. Anyway, it's a pretty interesting device. This works by loading a stemmed bowl, if you will. It comes with this pretty handy travel case here.
Dandy travel case.
Let me show you these guys. So yeah, it comes with like a foam. It's hard to tell with this lighting here, but it's got like a foam protective innards in here, so this thing can get dropped and thrown around and it'll be fine. Comes with 2 bowl heads, a double bowl and a single bowl, a bunch of replacement gaskets, and the bowl itself. The incredi part. Now, the way that this works, you take the stem, you load it into the incredible, and I like to put mine when you put it in, there's you start really hitting some rubber gaskets or something, and so I put in the stem about just above the cylindrical part here, and basically what you do is you load this up, put your mouth next to here, like this, and
lights.
You pull, and this whole chamber then fills up with smoke. Once you get this thing nice and cloudy, you pull back on this, and it shoots into your throat. It's very effective at making your medicine a little bit more effective at getting you high quickly.
Mm-hmm. And you
can see the coughs.
Less medication.
Yeah, the thing is this: when you inject it in yourself like that, once you fill this thing up and you open up, the negative pressure escapes and shoots down your throat, causing you to hack and cough. Your bronchioles open up pretty well, and you get the effects pretty quickly without having to smoke too much. So, which is actually better for you because the less smoking, the better. The less impact on your lungs. So, the first time I tried this was when I first moved out here from New York, and I had some grape vape, and Oh my god.
Oh no, vape.
I hadn't gotten that high before ever in my life. It was pretty weird.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah, I was out of it. Post haste.
You're medicated.
I was beyond medicated. Let me say, yeah. Use this one with caution, guys. This isn't for your beginner. Let me say that right from I should have said that from jump. This actually is for somebody who.
Experienced smokers, mature
yeah,
smokers.
exactly. Somebody who's been smoking for a while. You don't want to start with this. This is a little too much for you guys just starting off.
It was a little too much for me the first time I ever tried it.
Yeah. So anyway, check it out. They usually retail for about $125. Every now and then you catch them on sale at places for less than $100. They have them at all the conventions and everything. But I'll tell you, even if you do end up paying full price for it, it's well worth it. It's really well constructed, beautiful materials. It's hard to tell on this camera, but it's like, it must weigh like a pound or something. I mean, it's heavy construction.
Yeah.
It's a nice piece of equipment. I really like it.
It's not glass.
Like
it's
said,
just plexiglass.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about dropping
pretty
it.
Durable. I mean, this, it's another story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're standard size, so you can kind of replace them if you need to. And it comes in this great case, like I said, so not a bad value for the money. Anyway, and check it out at www.theincredible.com. INCREDIBOWL is how you spell incredible. So theincredible.com from Incredible Industries. Well, this first show turned out to be a lot longer than originally planned. We were trying to get into an hour, but it looks like we're getting into about an hour and a half now. So I'm gonna try to make this quick. This last segment of our show this week in weed is MMJ 101, and during this segment we will go through and try to help new smokers or new MMJ patients figure out the ropes. Some of you have never smoked before. Some of you just totally new to this game and need some help figuring it out. And so one of the first things I wanted to cover was how to become a patient. Well, becoming a patient is easier than you may think. A lot of people are under the misconception that you have to have some kind of pre-existing condition or a medical history or something like that. And, well, the truth of the matter is that currently you just need a doctor's recommendation. So all you have to do is go into, there's many doctors out there. You can go to any dispensary, and typically most of them will have information for you out there by the front. They'll usually offer you several options to choose from.
Or you can go online.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of resources that way as well.
Kush Magazine, 420 Magazine, there's all kinds of places you can find. Excuse me. And basically, the prices range. What you end up having to do is this. You end up having to pay a doctor's fee, and then you pay a state fee for the most part. The doctor's fees range anywhere from like $40 to $100, and the state fee is $90. Now, well, go ahead.
Will get waived if you are on SSI or receiving food stamps. So those type of benefits, as long as you provide the documentation with your paperwork, you can receive a waiver on the fee as well.
Now, that's pretty good because if you're in a situation where you're really dependent upon marijuana for pain management or for any kind of management to ailment, that's an excellent opportunity for you there to get something that's natural and you're not going to have to cough up so much money. I mean, if you get an affordable doctor to help you out with the recommendation letter, then you don't have to worry about any kind of additional fees. That's it's pretty good. So that's the first thing, is make sure you check out a dispensary. Make sure you find some place that is convenient for you to get to and is in the right price for you. And remember, like Rose had said, that if you do qualify for any kind of benefits package from the government, you may qualify to get your $90 state fee waived. Once you get your red card, you are then able to go to a dispensary of your choice, any one you want, pretty much, and purchase whatever wares they may carry. One thing to consider is that there are different kinds of weeds. Not all weeds are created equally, and typically in Colorado, and especially in Denver, when you walk into a dispensary, you'll usually have a choice of 10 or more strains at least, and it could be a little confusing. So two main things to know about for picking weed are there's two main strain types. There's indicas and then there's sativas. Indicas tend to be more of the relaxation type of weed, whereby they'll have a lot of pain management qualities to them, and they'll help you to sleep at night. These are the kind of Indicas are the kind of weed that you want to smoke toward the end of the day, for the most part, unless you're dealing with a lot of anxiety issues. Then there's sativas. Now sativas, which for all the propaganda that's out there, you don't hear too much about. Everything makes it sound like it's indica. Like you remember those commercials I was saying before, where they had the person attached to the couch or whatever. There are some really strong ones that could make you feel that way if you abuse them. But the sativas are quite the opposite.
Yes, they are. They can get you definitely going.
Yeah, they're like a cup of coffee almost.
Yes.
And maybe even more than a cup of coffee in some regards. They get you up, they get you motivated, running around, and certainly your appetite will build doing all the activity that you be out doing.
And actually,
sativas.
it's been shown that marijuana smokers, I don't know if it's been scientifically proven, but there's been studies that have shown marijuana smokers are actually less heavier because of the sativas.
What are you, weight-wise?
Yes, because the sativas run up your metabolism. So thus, if you're eating healthy and being active, it's going to help you shed a couple more pounds there.
Well, that's the thing. One thing to consider. One thing to consider as a patient is that you have to remember there's a lot of propaganda out there that would suggest that marijuana is completely detrimental to you, and as such, the positive points of it are never really pointed out. Now, if you're an educated consumer, then you'll know about the sativas and the indicas, and you'll know that you choose one for you don't smoke a sativa at night or an indica during the day. Sativas are for the day, and indicas are for the night. And if you do that, then you'll never feel like you're out of control of your situation. Yeah. You'll be quite functional, and there's always the in between. There's the hybrids. So I know I said that there's two main ones, but there's the in between, and the in betweens, which is what you'll see a lot of out there.
Yeah.
These are strains of weed that basically they took dominant sativas and dominant indicas, mated them together, and the product is these hybrid plants. Now the hybrid plants tend to typically lean on one side or the other of their heritage, meaning that they'll either be heavier on the sativa side or heavier on the indica side. Usually you'll see like a 60-40 or 70-30 on the genetics. There are, not to say that there aren't like almost even kill 50-50s. I'm trying to think of one. Oh boy, that's even hard. It's hard to say actually. Yeah,
so many strains out there.
Hawaiian is close. I think Hawaiian is like a I want to say 70-30 or 60-40 in that area. But you get out to the dispensaries. If you go to the right dispensary, Cherry Top Farms.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw free ad out there for
I was wondering when that was gonna come out.
Yeah, well, this is a place that they kind of do it right into a regard with how they organize their medicine.
They do educate you. I'll point that out with the dispensary. Is like you were saying, there's indicas, there's sativas, there's a mix, and there's also different treatments like anxiety. Some will make you happy, sleepy, calm.
Right.
There's different, focus
different
to help you study or things like that. And you don't ever be afraid to ask questions. And if
they don't know
the answers, you're at the wrong place. And yes, Cherry Top Farms, I will say.
Yeah, they're one of the few places
they're knowledgeable.
They make it easy for you. They have cards down at every strain has every jar of weed that's there under their display case will have a breakdown of what to expect from the strains. And it's organized so that this way you've got indicas on the one end and sativas on the other, and the hybrids in between. And depending upon which way those hybrids are leading is what side of the which ones they're closer to, the sativas or the indicas. So yeah, check them out. They're pretty good about being informative and helping you get the right stuff. Anyway, that's it for our show this week. I appreciate you guys coming and checking us out. Hopefully you'll catch us soon for the next one, which will come out again on Friday. Again, my name is William Rodriguez.
And I'm Rose Sandoval.
It's been fun having you guys. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching.